Inflation still going up. Let's arm you with some tools, some strategies, give you a inflation survival guide, a hyperinflation strategy guide as the price of rent is up, depending on the data set. If you look at Zillow or some of these others, 9%, 13% since last year. We look at rental cars up 40%, gasoline up 35, 40%. Numbers are going up. You notice everything, all the prices are going up. It's more and more on people's consciousness, and it's an issue, and it's a scary thing. But the good news is that it's happened so many times in history before that there's people who have survived, and you can be just fine if you just know what to do. So in this video, and this is something we've been talking about, this video, I'm going to offer you some different suggestions and some different strategies. So I hope you find that useful. I appreciate you. Welcome and much love. Fam, Trav here. So one of the things that you need to keep in mind to even do okay during inflation, I'm not going to describe why inflation happens. Well, just briefly, it's going to help understand why to buy more scarce resources. But inflation tends to happen when the government, combination of the government just losing control of and printing money willy-nilly, and there's just being more and more and more and more and more money in the same amount of things. So that's one of the things that happens. I was going to walk over here into the shade. And then another thing that happens is inflation speeds up, the population loses faith in the government, and as the population loses faith in the government, they start to anticipate inflation, so they raise prices ahead of inflation. So that's what causes hyperinflation, is it speeds up, a combination of the government just churning money and people losing faith in the currency. So you need to do okay during inflation if you have a job. I'm going to assume most of you have a job. You need to have your wages need to go up with inflation. The problem is that in a lot of the times your wages go up after inflation, so you're getting poorer and you're getting poorer. So you need to be able to negotiate with your job to raise your pay, whether that's raising your hourly or raising your salary, because if inflation is, the official number is 5%, but we know that they make it look lower than it is. Let's say it's 10%. If you didn't get a 10% raise, if you didn't get a raise this year, you're 10% poorer. If that goes on for 5 years, half of your half of your earning power is gone, right? So it's imperative that you get increases in pay. Now, something that you should know that's actually in the data is that people who stay in the same job tend to earn half the money in their lifetime as people who move jobs frequently. So in an inflationary environment, you may need to move jobs frequently. And the reason for that is anytime that you're changing jobs, when you're negotiating your original rate, is the most leverage that you're going to have because you can walk away. It's the best time to negotiate. It's harder to get a raise than to set your initial pay. Right? It's harder to say, like, hey, I make $15 an hour, can you raise me to 30, when there's some job that's just going to offer you 30. And also, based on your past pay, your next pay can pay more than that. As you go around and find a new job, say, hey, the last guy's paid me 30 an hour, can you pay me 40 an hour? So you may need to move jobs. If you love your job, then, and hopefully it can give you raises that match or beat inflation. And if they can't do it, then you probably got to walk. So that's one piece of advice that I haven't given, which is pretty relevant. Related piece of advice that I like is, and this is going to apply to less of you, but having some kind of work trade or certain benefits. And an example for me is like a certain amount of my hours go to the food that I eat in a week. So what all that does is saves me from having to negotiate a pay raise. It's sort of inflation proof, right? Price of food goes up, it's whatever, because a certain amount of my hours go to food anyways. That might apply to a few of you, but a way it might apply is like a job that gives you benefits of food, like a restaurant job, is going to be nice here. Or you work at Google and you get a cafeteria and you get to eat your meals and it's decent food. That's a nice bonus here because it's going to save you from having to negotiate higher, because it's just a perk that's gonna match inflation step by step. Or it could be, I'm not a fan. I don't, y'all know I moved off the farm. I don't really like work trade for housing. For a long term, for a short term as a way to see a place, it's cool. But the problem with that is it's just a feudal setup where your landlord and boss become the same entity. And so I don't necessarily recommend for lifestyle reasons, but for fighting inflation, it's a reasonable thing to do, is trade hours for your living situation as well. So those are some strategies that you can have. Another strategy, one is doing whatever you can to reduce your cost of living, reduce your whatever you're spending, and pocketing the difference and investing the difference. What you invest in really doesn't matter too much. I'm telling you, and I tell you, I love Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin, but it doesn't need. It could be stocks if you have enough, and you could do real estate, whatever it is. But just something that's not the currency that's deflating, something that holds its value. Could be gold, could be like Bitcoin, but could be something just getting investing. Like, you have to invest. It sucks that you have to invest because it just adds an extra difficulty and a layer of difficulty to your life, but it's something that you need to do in an inflationary environment. You must invest your money. You have to. And you got to save so that you can invest. Another thing is earning yield. So that's where you get, banks used to give you 2% interest, but especially through crypto, there's ways that you can earn percentage points a year. Just it's a small thing that you can do to fight inflation, right? If inflation's 10%, but you get 10% yield on your stable coin, maybe you should hold your extra cash as USD coin, and then earn a 10% yield on that, which you can do. Something I noticed is wealthy people that I'm talking to in this inflationary environment, they don't have a cash minimum, they have a cash maximum. So we tell you, hey, you should have 3 months or 6 months of expenses saved in cash, but you shouldn't have any more. It's a bad strategy to have more. It's the maximum, right? 3 months is the maximum, or however long. If it's depreciating quickly and you have reliable cash flow, and you can store it in liquid ways, or you have credit, you can access money quick if you need to, then there's not a reason to save very much dollars or whatever the currency is inflating. You should save it in, again, crypto, stocks, or just something, equity in a home, something. You just got to invest. Other things like getting paid up front is way better when it's inflationary, and paying late is way better. So you can imagine if you're paid at the end of a job, and say the normal thing is it takes 2 weeks or a month to get paid, and it loses value in those 2 weeks or a month if it's very inflationary. If it's a larger project, you build houses or something, and it takes 6 months, you want to get as much as you can paid up front, because by the time the contract is over, the value of that, if it's 10% inflation over 6 months, your pay is 5% less. It would have been 5% more if you collected up front. Similarly, you want to pay later as much as you can, and that means taking out debt. So one thing, for example, that I did is I got a new king size bed, and I got it on credit. Obviously, why would I pay $2,000 up front when I could pay over 18 months, like $100 a month? And in 18 months, it's like the bed got cheaper, right? $100 isn't the same in 18 months. I can put those $1,700 to work now earning yield, or I can put it to work now in some productive asset investment, and then come back and pay that later. So taking out debt is good. Variable debt is probably not good. So like credit card debt that's variable, and they can just jack it up above interest, jack it up above inflation. They can just set on the money that you owe, the variable interest, to 25% or 30%. Don't recommend that, but anything you can do that's fixed interest is good, especially if it's less than inflation. So if you qualify for, I mean, when rent is going up 15% a year, but you can buy a home and pay a 3% fixed interest rate for 30 years is just ridiculous if you can do it. So that's something that you should consider, is how you can use debt productively to buy assets that go up greater than inflation, and your debt is less than inflation, and you just build wealth that way, and you're also inflation resistant. So those are a number of things. The overall thing though is like, cash is a hot potato, move it quick, and you got to be ready to make decisions quick, and you have to be negotiating, and you have to be investing, and it sucks, but you do these things and you'll be fine. There's so many high inflationary environments that have happened in the world, and many people come out much richer. It sucks. Nobody wants to go through it. It's just stressful, but I want to tell you, hey, you could be good. You'll be all right. Okay. Hope that's useful to you. Hit the thumbs up, comment down below what your favorite strategy is, and if you want one-on-one help, and yeah, there's a link to that down below for life coaching for men. So hope you find that useful, and appreciate you, and yeah, talk to you soon. Let's get it. Peace.